Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Dear brothers and sisters, happy Easter.
Riecheggia in tutto il mondo l'annuncio della Chiesa: Gesù Cristo è risorto, è veramente risorto.
Today the Church's proclamation echoes throughout the world. Jesus Christ is risen, he is truly risen. Like a new flame, this good news springs up in the night. The night of a world already faced with epochal changes and challenges that now pressed by a pandemic severely testing our whole human family. In this night, the Church's voice rings out, Christ, my hope, is risen. This is a different contagion, a message transmitted from heart to heart. For every human heart awaits this good news. It's the contagion of hope. Christ, my hope, is risen. This is no magic formula that makes problems vanish. No, Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ. A very warm welcome to you on behalf of Vatican Media, Vatican Radio, and all my colleagues here at the Vatican Dicastery for Communication. I'm Sean Patrick Lovett. It doesn't bypass an extraordinary privilege to be able to provide the translations through commentary for you opening of this live broadcast of the Easter Sunday Mass celebrated by Pope Francis. This is followed by the Holy Father's Urbi et Orbi message and blessing. The risen Lord is also the medium or device you may be following this event. Please know we're delighted you can join us. We do especially welcome our friends of Catholic TV, Salt and Light TV, Shalom World TV, Let us turn our gaze to Him, the Catholic Faith Network in America, Radio Maria in Nairobi, Kenya, Luminous Radio in India, Sirius XM of New York, Relevant Radio, Radio Maria in Latvia. Today, all of you listening on local radio stations to the many the world, including directly affected by the coronavirus, Veritas in South Africa, sick, and so many more. Those who have died. Please know this broadcast is available right now on the loss Vatican Media's audio app and Vatican in some cases at Vatican. They were unable even to bid a final farewell. May the Lord of life welcome the departed into his kingdom and grant comfort and hope to those still suffering, especially the elderly and those who are alone. May he never withdraw his consolation and help from those who are especially vulnerable. Seen the procession to such as persons altar. This is working in nursing homes, altar of the chair, and living in barracks and prisons. Pope Francis is celebrating Mass. For many, this is an reverences the altar, as you've just seen, with the incense, and behind the altar, the lived amid the sorrow and hardship that crucifix is causing Saint Marcello, physical suffering, together with the economic icon of Our Lady, Salus. This disease has not only deprived us of human closeness, but also of the possibility of receiving in person at the express the consolation of the Holy Father from the sacraments, items that have particularly great religious and reconciliation value to the people of Rome in particular. Here the Holy Father, in many countries, references it has not been possible to approach the icon we're just mentioning, also because they're both associated with historic plagues. United in our prayer, knowing that we are convinced many of you at this very moment are in lockdown because of the coronavirus, firmly reassuring us, using the presence of these symbols. I have three signs of consolation with you still, and closeness to all of you. Also a reminder that God is more powerful. May Jesus, our Passover, grant strength for and hope a swift to doctors and nurses solution to the COVID-19. Everywhere offer a witness of care and love for our neighbors, close to our hearts, to the point of exhaustion. All of you, and not infrequently, directly affected by the virus, who've lost loved ones. Our gratitude and affection go to them. Let's listen now who work diligently to guarantee the essential services necessary for civil society, and to the law enforcement and military personnel, who in many countries have helped ease people's difficulties and sufferings. In these weeks, the lives of millions of people have suddenly changed. For many, remaining at home has been an opportunity to reflect, to withdraw from the frenetic pace of life, to stay with loved ones and enjoy their company. For many, though, this is also a time of worry about an uncertain future, about jobs that are at risk, and about other consequences of the current crisis. I encourage political leaders to work actively for the common good, to provide the means and resources needed to enable everyone to lead a dignified life, and when circumstances allow, to assist them in resuming their normal daily activities. This is not a time for indifference, because the whole world is suffering and needs to be united in facing the pandemic. May the risen Jesus grant hope to all the poor, to those living on the peripheries, to refugees and the homeless. May these, the most vulnerable of our brothers and sisters, living in the cities and peripheries of every part of the world, not be abandoned. Let us ensure that they do not lack basic necessities, all the more difficult to find now that many businesses are closed, such as medicine and especially the possibility of adequate health care. In the light of the present circumstances, may international sanctions be relaxed. Since these make it difficult for countries on which they've been imposed to provide adequate support to their citizens. And may all nations be put in a position to meet the greatest needs of the moment through the reduction, if not the forgiveness, of the debt burdening the balance sheets of the poorest nations. This is not a time for self-centeredness, because the challenge we are facing is shared by all without distinguishing between persons. Among the many areas of the world affected by the coronavirus, I think in a special way of Europe. After the Second World War, this beloved continent was able to rise again thanks to a concrete spirit of solidarity that enabled it to overcome the rivalries of the past. It is more important than ever, especially in the present circumstances, that these rivalries do not regain force, but that all recognize themselves as part of a single family and support one another. The European Union is presently facing an epochal challenge on which will depend not only its future, but that of the whole world. Let us not lose the opportunity to give further proof of solidarity, also by turning to innovative solutions. The only alternative is the selfishness of particular interests and the temptation of a return to the past at the risk of severely damaging the peaceful coexistence and development of future generations. This is not a time for division. May Christ our peace enlighten all who have responsibility in conflicts, that they may have the courage to support the appeal for an immediate global ceasefire in all corners of the world. This is not a time for continuing to manufacture and deal in arms, spending vast amounts of money that ought to be used to care for others and save lives. Rather, may this be a time for finally ending the long war that has caused such great bloodshed in beloved Syria, the conflict in Yemen, and the hostilities in Iraq and in Lebanon. May this be the time when Israelis and Palestinians resume dialogue in order to find a stable and lasting solution that will allow both to live in peace. May the sufferings of the people who live in the eastern regions of Ukraine come to an end. The Holy Father prays may the terrorist attacks carried out against so many innocent people in different African countries conquered death come to an end. To open the gates of eternity, grant that we who reverently observe the feast of the Lord's This is not a time for forgetfulness by your Spirit and rise again in the light. The crisis we are facing should not make us forget the many other crises that bring suffering to so many people. May the Lord of life now be close first reading to all those in Asia and Africa who are experiencing grave humanitarian crises follow in your missals, as in the province of Cabo Delgado, Latin, in the north of Mozambique. First and second readings are in Italian. May He warm the hearts of the many refugees displaced because of wars at that time when Peter spoke up and said, "You must have heard about May He grant protection to migrants and refugees about Jesus of Nazareth. Many of them children began in Galilee who are living after John had unbearable conditions, especially in Libya, had anointed him, and on the border between Greece and Turkey. And because God was with him, and I don't want to forget went about doing good of Lesbos and curing all who had fallen into the power of the devil. In Venezuela, the Lord enabled concrete and immediate solutions to be reached. He did that throughout the countryside of Judea, international assistance to a population suffering from the grave political, socio-economic, by hanging him on a tree. Yet, 3 days afterwards, God raised him to life. Dear brothers and sisters, allowed him to be seen indifferent not only by the self-centeredness, but division, certain witnesses and forgetfulness beforehand. Are not now, words we want to hear at this time. Witnesses we have eaten and drunk to ban these words forever. And He has ordered us to proclaim. They seem to prevail when fear and death overwhelm us. Has appointed Him to judge everyone, that is, alive when we do not let the Lord Jesus triumph in our hearts. Bear this witness and in our lives. That all who believe in Jesus will have their sins forgiven. Christ, through His name, who has already defeated death and opened for us the way to eternal salvation, dispel the darkness of our suffering humanity, and lead us into the light of His glorious day. The psalm is Psalm 117. The refrain is, "This is the day the Lord has made. Rejoice, a happy and Easter. Be glad."